Thank you, Chair. This is open to anyone who wants to jump in, obviously. Are there signs, in your opinion, that that huge fall that we saw of 64% in exports in January is the lowest level we're going to see? I mean, you've got to factor in COVID, you've mentioned that already. Could it get worse? Is it necessarily going to get better?
Shall I take that first? My first reaction to that is I really, really hope so. And I think the indications are that it already is better than it was in January. I think Eddie's already testified to that, and so is Richard. I guess the point though is one thing is that talking about just the number really doesn't really talk about what's happening behind that in terms of restructuring of things. And I guess one thing I would say is that what businesses are, supply chains are agile. They adapt. They see a roadblock and they try and find a way around that roadblock. And one of the key ways of doing that is moving from what we call groupage, so assembling lots of different smaller consignments of goods into one lorry and sending them across the border, into full load. So sending one load for one customer. So doing more less often, sort of thing. Now that sounds like a relatively straightforward thing to do, and it is. If you're a very big business, it might be relatively easy to do. But if you're a small business, that's a really difficult thing to do because you don't necessarily ever get to the sorts of volumes you need to be able to do a full load type operation. Also, then in order to sort of solve the groupage problem, you need to start thinking about innovative business models, which might involve bringing in new consolidators to bring those goods together and buy the goods on the UK side before they're then sent to the EU. Try and replicate effectively what happens when you're sending stuff on a slow boat to China. Instead of in a lorry, and that will create a new profit center, a new cost in the supply chain potentially for that, and create a barrier for SMEs. And I think that just that general sense, I guess one message I would like to get the committee to hear is the bigger businesses are easier to help and have been able to cope better than the smaller businesses because of those sort of just scaled issues as much as anything else, as well as awareness and other things. So I think that kind of dichotomy between those two things is the overall number might well go back up to something nearer that sort of 10% decline or whatever. But there will be big winners and losers within that, inevitably.